Welcome to the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, please go and leave a 5-star review. For example, here's just a really great, short and sweet little review from EMB. Ooh, I wonder if that's a code name. Title of the review is really good. Just simply put, really good. And they wrote, a curious mind and a funny, talented interviewer with an honest perspective. Oh, thanks. I like that one. Yes, I appreciate all the reviews very, very much. Even the weird ones, even the kooky ones. Speaking of kooky, this episode is brought to you by One Soul, baby. If you guys are starting to think about traveling again and like you want to plan, it's 2021, right? Like you're just thinking, all right, let me go somewhere, let me travel somewhere. And like basically the biggest problem or qualm, sorry guys, this one's for the ladies, but the biggest problem we have like when we're packing to go somewhere really is shoes. I know this is like, I'm sounding like such a girl right now, but like when we're packing to go somewhere and we have like a bunch of different outfits, you want to bring a black pair for this outfit, a brown pair for this outfit, wedges, like our shoes, as you know, we have too many fucking shoes, guys. And especially when we go on a trip, we bring too many shoes with us. So One Soul basically is here to alleviate our multiple shoe problem. It's basically just one sole, right? And they gave me a few different ones. It's like this corky one. This one's like a black wedge. This one's like a heel. And they're known for it's basically you can snap it on and off within seconds, right? Like, boom, this comes right off. As I struggle to get it off, comes right off. You can switch it up. It's like they're really known for this. Like this is their classic top. It's like neoprene. It fits your foot like a glove, and you snap the other ones back on. And for all my CMP listeners, you're gonna get 25% off your whole order if you go to onesoulshoe.com and check it out, guys. This is great. This is gonna solve all your problems. These shoes were invented by, I believe, a pharmacist. Let's go to the home here. Yeah, they were featured on Shark Tank. They were featured on ABC as like best product made in America. Dominique McLean Barteet is the creator. Super easy, super cool. Go to onesoulshoe.com and get yourself a pair today. Use the code CMP to get 25% off. Also, this episode is brought to you by Cushy Dreams. They are my favorite, my number one go-to choice for quality CBD products. Here we go. Boom! Cushy Dreams is known for their high quality bud and also joints that they sell. So it's basically like it's not weed, right? It's gonna make you feel super calm right away. I have the read right here. They specialize in extraordinary CBD-rich hemp flower, aka bud, in cans and pre-roll CBD joints. Enjoy all the health benefits of CBD without getting high. There's under 0.3% THC in all of these products. It's cannabis that ships directly to you. It's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. Every batch is slow cured for 2 to 4 weeks to guarantee maximum freshness and preserve flavor in cannabinoids. It's grown here in the USA. They take the artisan approach. Every run is in a small batch. This is good stuff, guys. Cushy Dreams has they offer different sativa indica blends like energy, hustle, relax, dream, create. So whatever you want to do with your day, Cushy Dreams has a strain for that. I like it because I just light up a little joint and I feel calmer in about like 5 to 10 minutes. Like my mind, my body feels calm, but I'm not like out to lunch, like super high, not going to get anything done for the rest of the day. So go to cushydreams.com, KUSHY dreams.com. Use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off your whole order plus free shipping, guys. That's right. Kiss anxiety goodbye. I'm so excited to have this guy on the pod today. I feel like we have been lifelong friends. Maybe he has a different idea, but we kind of started comedy at around the same time. I feel like we kind of came up together. He has an album that just came out just a few months ago called the Draw 4 album. You've seen him everywhere, guys. It's comedian. You know him. You love him. Kunal C. Aurora. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Woo! Thanks for coming on.
like we are lifelong friends.
Oh, good. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank
you
God.
know, a lot of people were telling me, I'm going to be frank with you. I'm going to be honest. A lot of people were like, you're doing Chrissie's podcast? You're doing Chrissie's podcast? Yeah. They were looking at me like it was just like, you shouldn't do her podcast. And I was like,
are you kidding me right now? Are you being for real?
I'm like a couple people. I'm not going to say a lot. I'm going to say 2 people were like, I can't believe you're doing her podcast. I'm not going to name names because they are still, I still consider them friends. But the thing is this, though. It's like, I've known you for years. I remember we did our first TV taping together.
Yes. Oh my God. Laughs on Fox.
Right.
I'll never forget it. I hold a special place in my heart for, first of all, not only the people I came up with like yourself, but for Laughs on Fox, because it was my kind of first TV thing. Yeah. My first kind of, I don't know, big break.
This was 2015, let's be honest.
Right?
It holds a special place in our hearts. But it did jack shit for us.
No, it did nothing for us. We were not propelled into fame and fortune like we thought we would be.
Right. It was nice. It was a good gesture. The money was cool. I mean, like it wasn't a lot, but it was something.
The fact that we got money was a big deal. I was like, oh, wow, anything. Like, because you're at the point where your standards are so low. You're just like, wow, any money? Thank you. We're doing this thing that I've been doing for free for years. Cool.
Exactly. And I remember just us being at the taping in Helium and just going, this is just fun to have this, Yeah. And so people were like, yeah, I mean, you're doing Chrissie's podcast. And I go, I was like, what do you don't have the relationship I have with her. And also it's like, what, like people are like, you should be like, they make it seem like, I know you went to the protests, right? And that's fine. Like you're allowed to voice your opinion on whatever stuff you want to voice it on. But they make it seem like you were rushing into the building, holding senators hostage at night.
Oh, yeah. It was my idea, actually. I don't know if they told you that, but it was my idea. Right. A lot of people are very misinformed. And I've said it on other pods, but it's like I was there kind of in a neutral, people laugh like, oh, you're not a journalist. But I truly was there in kind of a neutral, like journalistic, like I'm just here to live stream. I'm just here to see what's going on. I'm here to see for myself instead of just believing what the mainstream media says, because they would never lie about anything.
Right.
And I just was like, I am curious about this movement and I do want to talk to the people. So it's like people forget that like I'm a comedian, like I'm there to kind of also make fun of what's going on. Like I was talking to the guy who was like super passionate about everybody keeping their foreskins. He was just like, you need to sue. This guy's name was Prometheus. He had a lot of signs on. If you saw him in Times Square, you'd be like, oh, he's probably a mascot asking for dollars. Like I'm there to talk to like the kooky characters.
I'm not
see the costumes.
I can't talk to Prometheus. I don't think I'm one of his people. I don't got a foreskin. I got nothing to offer Prometheus. I mean, I wish I could give him the foreskin if I still had it, but
he would tell you that you could sue your parents if you're circumcised, that you deserve. Go get it back. And I was trying to tell him, I was like, I think it's one of these things where it's like, you don't know what you're missing out on because you don't remember having one. But anyway, that's why I go to these protests is to like see what's going on, kind of report, because I didn't feel like we were getting an honest account of what was going on. And to meet people, talk to people, see where people are at. But it's unfortunate that like people see like, oh, you're just the fact that you're there means that you're exactly what you said, like carrying a podium away or,
that to me sort of seems like anyone who says like, they have that kind of view. That's to me no different than when you look at a protest for Black Lives Matter and you automatically assume everyone there's looting. And it's like,
exactly.
It's like unfair because it paints people in that bad picture. And it's like, listen, I don't agree with some of your politics. You probably don't agree with some of my politics, but isn't that the point for us to kind of have that kind of conversation where, I mean, if we are, or if we don't, whatever, but I'm just saying that like the fact that we could, one of my best friends is a Trump supporter. I could care less when it comes down to it. He has my back. I have his. It's like, what about the humanity of this whole thing?
Right. And like being able to talk to people and it's like, we shouldn't like the fact that we're demonizing so many people just for who they voted for. And it used to be like you'd be full like MAGA gear or whatever. Like it was, you're a Trump supporter. It's like you're so obvious, you're constantly putting out there. But like the definition has kind of like widened so much that it's like even if you own camouflage pants, you're a Trump supporter. It's like it takes almost nothing now for you to be.
All it takes is camo?
Just a little camo, and you too are domestic terrorists. So
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go through my closet. I don't know if I have.
Yeah,
camo.
you might.
I might have like some hidden. I got cheetah print. I don't know, what does that make
if
me?
You own cargo shorts. I'm sorry to inform you, but you are a Trump supporter.
That really stinks because I do like pockets. So I don't know what I'm gonna do,
and I think this is a good conversation to have because. To me, it sounds like the idea that you would even talk to me in a podcast, right? Publicly, right? Because privately, nobody can control that. But the idea that us talking is somehow going to be what? This is going to be bad for you, Kunal? This is going to be bad for your career? Are you going to lose gigs talking to me?
You said something to me a couple of years ago, and it really stuck with me. You said it was like something, it was very short and in passing. And you said, do whatever the fuck you want to do. Who cares? Like, who gives a shit? And I was just like, yeah. So to me, I just try to figure out what I'm doing. If I like it, do I want to keep doing it? And that's what it's been for the past couple of years, especially over the pandemic. I started a podcast for video games. And I was like, yeah, that was.
Are you a Twitcher?
I mean, I was considering doing Twitch, but then I was just like, no. And then I stopped that because I was like, I don't think I care about video games enough.
You have to. It's really a lifestyle choice. You have to buy the chair. You got to buy the big chair with the bright colors.
Right.
That looks like you're in a race car bed or something, but just like sitting up.
So
that's a commitment. Just that chair alone is like you walk into a room of somebody who's like a Twitcher or a streamer. You're like, oh, okay, this is your life. This chair, I'm sure, was $2,000.
Right. Like the giant ass monitor that's curved. The like the giant computer that's glowing, and I can't. I mean,
you look like you're in a spaceship that's about to take off. It's like ground control. It's like there's gadgets everywhere.
I can't. I like Mountain Dew, but not that much.
You have to love Mountain Dew
I can't do any of that shit. I tried it for a minute, and I like video games. I'll play. I can talk about it a little bit, but there's only so much I can humanly do before I just go, I can't do this anymore. So
that's so funny. It's like usually like the if you're ever in, like I was in somebody's house recently who like they're a Twitcher, and it's like sure enough in their garage are cases and cases of energy drinks, and I was like, yeah, this goes together. This is like the whole thing.
Right. And then I also did like a game show for a period of time. I remember I was trying to get you on that. And then you and Figs had a schedule issue, which is fine.
Oh, yeah.
And I stopped doing that too. And it's because I was thinking about it. And like a lot of people were like, hey, listen, this is really fun. This is a cool idea. And my mentality was, all right, cool. I liked it for a period of time. But then I realized like, I don't want to be a game show guy. I don't want to be a dude who's on, you know what I mean? I think about Cash Cab, right? Fun game show. Ben Bailey looks like he's having a great time.
He does.
I don't think I would be that guy. I think first of all, it'd be a little weird if I'm driving a cab around trying to give people money. It'd be a little too on the nose. But if I'm just out there like, welcome to my cab, we're gonna play a game show, and they're like, yeah, let's be real, buddy. Let's just get me to where I need to get to.
It's okay. You're a real cab driver. Just go ahead, embrace it.
I put the lights on. They still don't believe it. They're like, all right, enough.
They're like, we get it. You tricked out your own cab.
Right. But that's the thing. Like, so I tried that for a minute, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be a game show guy. So, and this is the thing. Yeah. I don't think that this pandemic, like everyone's saying that this is the time for you. This is the time to do that thing you've been meaning to do. And yeah, if you want to, sure. But if you want to kick back and fucking relax, that's also cool too.
You get me time that you've probably never had your whole life.
You know what's going to happen when we get older, right? We're around at the same age, right? Early 20s, right?
Oh, yeah. Very early.
And, so when we reach like 65, right? You know, people retire, shit like that. You're older. Things are slow. You're moving slow. Pains are there. And let's say we reach a point where we could successfully retire and not have to worry about money, right? Which would be the dream.
Oh my God, that is a dream. Yeah.
Right. But then you got to think about the fact that you're older and now you got that you're just a different person, twice the age or 3 times the age. But this time now to feel retired and do nothing. Like, I mean, I know you're busy, but when you've had that increase in me time, how good has that shit been?
It's been good. It's been like a lot more sleeping in. That's probably been my number one, like loafing piece is like not really going a year without really having an alarm clock going.
Yeah.
And it's bad. And like if I were really A+ing life, I would have woken up at 7 or 8 a.m. to like work out every day. That's my only critique of myself for the last year is that I didn't really get that 6-pack that I wanted.
Right. I get it. Listen, I try to treat the week like a week. Like I try to get some things done, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, yo, you need to every day you got to do. Listen, if you do it, great. If that's for you, fine. If you want to sit back and chill, that's cool too. Man, I don't understand why we harass people. Like everyone is almost like a secret motivational speaker. It's like, I don't want to tell you, like, if you want to be better about yourself, I'll help you there. I'll be sort of accountable. Like I have a thing with a friend of mine where we kind of keep track of each other's work.
Like an accountability buddy.
Exactly. That's what I call it. Right. So we have that, but I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you on the system unless you're kind of interested in wanting to be more accountable for your own shit. Other than that, live your life to the fucking fullest is what I'm saying. So
I like this so much, Kunal, because in the age of, Gary V and Tony Robbins less so. Really, Gary V is kind of like the man right now in terms of like motivation.
Right.
We have so many forces, memes, Instagram everywhere telling us to like carpe diem and go get it and crush it. It's like
Gary V, he likes that shit, right?
Oh yeah, he's all about like he's genuinely motivational, I think. But we need more voices like yours. Like, hey, it's okay to just do shit sometimes.
Yeah, and it's like, listen, as long as it's making you happy, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're sitting at home eating chips all day and it's not making you happy, then maybe stop that. But like chase the happiness aspect. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you need to grind. And also when it comes to these motivational speakers, what we need to kind of understand is a lot of these guys were instilled the idea of hard work from a young age, you know? Like I look at all these guys and they were like, oh, my parents would make me work at their store and then I'd go to school. And it's just like, yo, that's good for you. That shows discipline. Nobody did shit for me. I just kind of sat at home and then I did that. And it's like, and if you want to, and I like, people say that I like, that I do work hard, right? And I consider the stuff that I do, it's a good for me situation. That's what I look at it as. I never tell anybody they should be the kind of guy who's like, wake up at 7 a.m. But if you enjoy doing that, then that's fine.
Because grinds look different to different people. There's some people who stay up really late at night. Like I will stay up sometimes like 1 or 2 doing work and then I'll take a bath and then I'll go to bed. Like it's weird. And also sometimes like sometimes you don't have the same like routine every day. Sometimes you grind for like a week or 2 weeks. And then, I mean, everyone's different. Right. And I do think it's good to not like pressure people to like be productive in a way that works for you, but maybe doesn't work for them. Yeah.
So I guess that's the opening theme. Live your life, you motherfucker.
Live your life. Yeah. Well, thank you for risking your reputation to come on my podcast.
I mean, I appreciate it. That very extensive reputation that I have, the millions of followers that I don't have, you know what I mean? It's to me, I just look at it like this is a conversation with a friend who I've had for years. You and Frank, your mans, you guys have been always in my corner, and it's always the same people who will tell me like, oh, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. To me, I start to think, well, what should I do then? Where's you're telling me to not do this, but then what's the thing? Are you going to invite me on your podcast?
Right. It's like you're taking away an opportunity. Are you then going to present something to fill that space? Like, are you creating opportunities for people? And if you notice these people that are like saying, no, don't do these things. It's almost like, okay, you're destroying something or you're taking away something. It's like, well, what are you adding? What are you adding to the comedy world or to someone's life? Or
or how are you gonna? And to me, I started thinking, it's like, well, what have you helped me in any which way? And then, but then at the same time, don't get me wrong, I flip it in another way and I go, well, maybe they're trying to figure out what works for them. And to them, and I think a lot of it's projection too, because they'll say to themselves, hey, listen, you shouldn't do this podcast, because they know that they wouldn't do this podcast. I know that I'm not going to do this podcast. And then tomorrow I've got a show on the Kumia Network. It's not how that works.
I mean, you could do my show on the Kumia Network.
That's the thing. Like,
you have done it.
Yeah. You had me on. Was it the first episode?
You were on the very first episode of Wet Spot, and it was epic because it was the same. And this is like one of the things I really love about you. It was the same episode that we had Chris Morgan, Bagel Boss, on. And I was like, you know what? I'm the host of the show. I'm going to try to be neutral. I'm going to I'm going to just see what happens. I had a feeling, okay, it seems like maybe in case everyone is going to gang up on Bagel Boss, like, let me try to be neutral, but let me just see how it unfolds. I was so impressed with you, Kunal, like your ability to just like call him out on his bullshit, but in such a funny way. Like, it was between you and like Matthew Broussard was also on there. And like, you'd actually listen to the things he would say. He'd be like, oh yeah, everyone loves me. I'm not getting any, I'm not getting any backlash or bad feedback. And you were like, where are you looking? Like, are you just not reading comments?
Right. Yeah. I mean, have you heard from him? Have you
It's funny that you asked, because like I have just very recently, like last week, he started texting me again, and Frank was like, "Why are you talking to this guy?" And then like, and now I'm thinking,
is Frank jealous? Is Frank scared?
No, I mean he is. I mean definitely, Bagel Boss has let it be known that the door is open romantically for the two of us. He did immediately send me some pictures of himself, like photos. I'm like, I feel like these are the same ones I got like years ago when we were talking and you were like getting on the show. And so I think he's like, is he going into flirt mode? Like, what's going on? And then it was so funny because at one point he was like, this is my favorite photo of you. And he literally sent me a photo of A. Marie Castillo, like a totally different person. I'm like, that's hilarious. Not me. But now I'm thinking the wheels are turning. Like, I want to do a podcast episode with him. Like, I think it would be interesting for people to hear, like, how it all went wrong, like how it all.
I kind of feel like, so the last I heard of him is he had a stroke, and that's it. That's it. Like, he skipped out on a fight that he was supposed to do with somebody, which would have been a nightmare because the dude was like twice as big. And
it was Lenny Dykstra he was supposed to fight. Yeah. And
I was like, this is a bad idea. And then I think he didn't do the fight, and then he had a stroke. And then that's the last I heard. That's literally the last news of this guy. So you would be kind of doing like a where is he now situation.
Yeah, I think it might have to happen. I think people are curious about him, about the little guy.
He got demoted. He's just bagel man.
I remember I was just so impressed with you. I was like, oh wow, like you have such a presence. I always knew you had like a presence on stage. You're fucking hilarious, but like just see you in a podcast way, like almost like, well, it's kind of like part live radio show, part podcast, but not every comic can really like rise to the occasion there. And like, you have to kind of just be on your toes in a different way. And so I was like, what a better group of people to have on to like crush this first episode.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was
you were like, are you wearing lifts?
Yeah, no, it was a fun time. I really appreciate being on it. It was a great time. So it's been solid. But yeah, what's been new otherwise?
Oh, just a latest article come up. I was wondering, like, do we talk about this or not? But it did just come out like yesterday. If you guys don't know, if you listeners don't know, there's this guy named Seth Simons. He lives in Idaho, but he loves to comment on the New York City comedy scene. I think he used to live here at one point, moved back, whatever. He doesn't really do comedy. I think at one point he was like kind of an open micer, and like, there's videos out of him trying to do like bird poetry, which it is exactly what it sounds like it is. And so he's known for kind of like shitting on places like The Stand and shitting on like Legion of Skanks and like those guys. So that's like Big J Okerson, Louis J. Gomez, Dave Smith, and then also shits on Compound Media, which is like myself, Aaron Berg, Gino Bisconti, maybe less so. I think he also, it's hard to know because there's so much noise in this sort of like commentary on the comedy world. At one point somebody wrote like a list of racist comics, and it's like it's all very
make the list?
subjective. I did not make the list. Ooh. Which I'm so upset about. I was like, what more do I have to do, guys? and I think like this guy Seth, like his politics don't line up. He thinks that maybe comedy should be more politically correct or something. Like I really am trying to understand this guy, but I've always felt like if you want more of something in the world, or especially in the arts, like I think it's more productive to work to create that than to destroy the opposition. And I think maybe it's easier to just put out a hit piece or talk shit on Twitter. So much easier to do that than to create what you want.
You don't have to build something, right? It's kind of like if somebody has a ship, right? Could you build your own ship? Yeah, you could. Or you could throw a Molotov cocktail on theirs.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And now you're at the same level, right? Because now you're both standing on the docks with no boat. And that's essentially what it looks like. And, to be honest, I read a bunch of his stuff. I read a lot of it. And some of it was actually had good points. Like when he talked about wanting UCB to pay its performers. It's like, I could agree with that. Absolutely. But you got to realize there's a lot of other stuff that I don't agree with. And a lot of it just gets muddled. And then it becomes, I don't think any of these conversations would have gone the way that they went if they were face to face.
Ooh, very good point. It's so funny what you say about the UCB, because I did that. I did improv for like 5 years before I ever started doing stand-up. And I just was like, I remember that was 5 years of my life. I was living at home, spending like $400+ per improv class. And I was just doing that day in, day out, working my full-time job, going to improv once a week, coming back home. That was it. And then the days I didn't have class, I would like go to UCB and watch shows. I'd be one of those people sitting on the floor, like just, idolizing and marveling at the likes of now people who are actually like have done really well for themselves, like Jason Mantzoukas, genuinely a nice guy and a funny guy. Adam Pally, Ben Schwartzer, I think, or like he, and same thing. The guy that's on Zach Woods, Middle Ditch. Like these are all guys that I watched do improv when I was like a young woman, and you're like, wow, look, it's so great to see, every other commercial I watch, I'm like, oh, this is somebody I knew from improv. But it's like, it was never a thing I thought I'd make a living at. It felt like school to me. It felt like taking a college class or something, because it's just as useless as a college class.
To me, it sort of becomes like you do as much improv, and then and it's sort of like in a way kind of like going to college, and it's like, how do I make money at this? And then the only way you can is to be like an improv teacher. Yeah,
and I think what Seth doesn't understand, unless he has spent years taking classes at UCB, it's like people pay into that and pay money and take those classes with the hope that they are going to get plucked out by like an SNL or like whatever. Not that Mad TV is a thing anymore, but that they will get some sort of career escalating opportunity from it, or they'll just be on a house team and they'll be known. It's just
to me, it's a harder path than stand up.
Absolutely. And that's why I left, because I was like, this is not autonomous. You have to pay for a coach. You have to rent a room. There's 5, 6, 8 of you that all have to coordinate a practice schedule and show up and not be hungover for shows. And it just was a lot. And I was like, I think there was part of me that my switch to stand up was a little bit about ego, because I was like, I only get in 4 funny lines a show, when it's like, and then you realize it's not about that. It's about learning to listen, learning to improvise, like building up other skills.
My thing about improv was this is like, when you fail at stand up, there's at least some sympathy for it. And I think that, and it's almost like kind of like earned, like this person is trying, they are failing, they're bombing, and it's like, okay. And you can sort of feel bad for that person. And it's like, all right, that's kind of messed up.
Yes, especially
But with improv, you got 8 people failing, and you can't feel sympathy for that. Like, I don't, because it's just like, you're telling me out of all 8 of you, not one person said this is a bad idea. You know what I mean? Like, you're all accountable.
You have to yes and. So even if you get like a terrible idea, you're like, okay, I guess we're on a floating ATM in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. I think I had to be too, for me, it would be like, no, but
yeah,
I can't do that. So that's why I think for me, stand-up is like, I take a little more ownership in what I'm doing. So if I am ruining everything, it's like, cool, but I can't be part of a whole team that's ruining stuff, because then I just go, somebody. So nobody
feel like there's a lot of dead weight on you. That's the thing. Right. And like the highs are so much higher in stand-up. Like the glory is all yours when you're funny, but then when you bomb, like you take the full bomb. It's all on you. It's nobody else's fault, but you can add levity to it by being like, all right, I guess nobody liked this abortion joke. And you can you can like kind of be real in the moment and get the audience back. Whereas like, oh, with bad improv, it's like, it just takes a couple mistakes for the audience to check out and never come back. And,
absolutely.
There's probably nothing worse than watching bad improv.
Yeah. So yeah, I read the article.
Yes, I will pull it up. It's very long. I would say most people did not have the patience to read this. This is a very long article. To me, this comes off a bit like a diary entry gone awry. Again, yes, the comedy industry has a big alt-right problem. How safe spaces for transgressive humor, both online and real life, helped breed a hateful ideology. And already I was like, wow, where is this happening? Because I'm friends with people that are on the right, and I don't see this at all. But
yeah, I read as much as I could of it, and then I don't know. To me, it's just like some parts are so preposterous that it's just like, okay, and it's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's some things that it's just like, okay. I mean, like I said, if this was face to face, I don't think any of this would be happening. I don't think it would be like, oh, let's spend our time harassing this person. Let's spend our time researching that person. I think it'd be, and I think that's the kind of takeaway from it, is like, I'd rather have my interactions with people at the very least on the phone or through video, you know? Like,
yeah, and I think he draws too many. Obviously, think about it. He's a writer. What's popular right now? You know, the Capitol, the Capitol riots or whatever. Riots. I mean, like, I feel like that's such a generous word for what it was. It was a fucking gathering, but like, there's like, you know, just a handful of wackos there, you know, making things weird. But so like the Capitol stuff, right? Proud Boys, right? People love talking about the alt-right, but it's like, it's this abstract thing. It's just like, it's the boogeyman, right? It's like, I've still never met a white supremacist. It's like, but these are all buzzwords. So if you're a writer and you're like, okay, I want to get clicks, I want to get whatever paid from this article or whatever, you're going to see how many of these buzzwords can I cram into one article to get as many looks as I can. So here's what I think is ridiculous. Like the mobs that descended on DC last month have, you know, he's trying to link what happened at DC to the fact that people laugh at jokes that are racist sometimes. You know what I mean? It's like, it just, this is such a stretch for me. It's like, and he's talking about Gavin McInnes. It's like, he's just going so far back. I mean, are you kidding me? You're going back to like,
to me, I kind of look at it basically what we said before is just like, all right, like, I didn't know much about Gavin McInnes before this article, and I didn't even care.
Yeah.
Like, why? And I guess it's to make the general person aware of such things. But to me, I don't care about those things. And it really comes back to, I'd rather build my own ship, you know? And I'd rather, like, I'm on this podcast for what I like speaking to you. We're friends. I consider us friends.
Yes.
And then on top of that, I'm also here to plug my shit too.
Of course. Right. Yeah. Because people should know about you. You're fucking hilarious.
Thank you.
It's interesting because he's talking about, obviously this piqued my interest because he's talking about Anthony Cumia. I have a show on his network, and it's like, but it's like Gavin is long off of Compound Media, yet people still love to bring him up to paint this picture of Compound Media. It's like, if Compound Media were really so bad and this awful, racist, misogynistic network, do you think they would have me, a woman, like hosting a show there that's sex positive, where I bring in like tons of sex workers and porn stars? It's like, they were truly against that. They probably wouldn't let me have a show there. It's like, would they let Talib Starks, who's a black guy, have a show? So it's like, I think in theory it's fun to like say that these things are true, but it's like, when you really break it down, it's not so. And you're reading through this, it just feels like very personal. Like, he had a personal bad experience with the guys at the stand. He had a personal bad experience with like Louis J. Gomez. And it's like, all right, well, is this really the concern is like, is this going to affect the everyday comedy consumer?
Can we just answer this one thing that I need to ask you, is, have you heard about this website before today?
The New Republic? No.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
That's all. It's kind of like, this is the equivalent of bringing a somewhat well-known comedian to a venue people don't know.
And he's not even a comedian. He's like...
No, I know. It's the same thing. It's like, because he's got a little bit of a, like, this is an article that'll get shared. This is for clicks. Like anything else, right? What do? Yeah. We all do shit for clicks, for attention and stuff like that. And I get that. But, and it's so strange that we'll share websites that we'll never, ever fucking have been to, unless because it mentioned us, right? Then we'll be like, oh, I can't wait to share this. But and talk about it. But we could build each other up, right? We could just do the same thing. Like, you could plug my shit, I could plug yours. It's literally no different. But instead we get tracked in because somebody said, look at this person in a bad light or a good light, and we'll just do the same. So
yeah. And I think it's like, I'm like, oh, is this slander? Like, I wasn't consulted for this. This is supposed to be an article, it's supposed to be journalism. Like, nobody hit me up and was like, Chrissie, are you? And this is the best he could do on me, is that he thinks I believe in QAnon.
Right.
Because I have a couple of tweets where I mention the idea of QAnon. Apparently 2 tweets is all it takes. And then attended the protest. Again, it's like, this guy is doing the least work, because if he had looked into it, he'd be like, oh, she was there to cover what was going on. But it's like, he's not interested in accuracy. He's interested in pushing his story.
Well, isn't that everybody though? Isn't everybody trying to push their agenda to a degree? Right? So,
I guess, but if you're trying to say that you're being journalism, wouldn't you want to, I guess that's old school journalism, is wanting to just like report the facts instead of reporting with your spin on it. But that's, human beings, I guess it's very hard for us to be totally objective. And it's like, do you think this kind of an article is going to affect like the everyday person, and they would like then not go to somebody's show because it's like, oh, I read about you in the New Republic?
It would, you know what it does? It doubles down. Like, let's say, I think for every one person who may not go to a show from anyone mentioned in this article, it's definitely gonna double down on the intention of those who would, because then they look at it like, oh, they're shit talking podcasts that I like. And I like guys, and these are good guys. And it's like, so, that's why I think, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword. And I don't think that's why I think what you said before of building your own is more important. So,
yeah, it's so true. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, okay, this article comes and goes. Now what? It's like, is Seth any happier? Like, you're not going to you can't destroy what people like. You can't control what people like just because you don't like it. It's like,
that is the thing of the critic, right? That's the eternal struggle of the critic. I think that people that are like, I used to do a movie review podcast, and a friend of mine, he was like, more reviews, that's what we need. And it really, I started to think about that, and I was like, yeah, I don't care to review podcast movies or any of that kind of shit. It was like, what am I doing? Like, I like watching movies, I like playing video games. I don't want to be this kind of guy who's writing stars on other people's work. I'd rather enjoy it or not enjoy it. Like if I write a review on something, it's always positive. It's never negative. If I don't speak highly of something, then you already know my position. And I think that's kind of clear as to how I operate. And I think with critics, to me, they are, because they failed at a specific art, now they turn around and criticize such things. And the money that they should have been, that they wanted to get from that art has not been developed for it to occur. So now they work into getting money by criticizing the art.
Yeah.
And then once you start to pursue that avenue, you know, like when you write articles criticizing anything and you get paid for it, you're going to kind of venture down that avenue.
Right. Cause you're like, well, this is how I put meals on the table. This is my skill. Kunal, do you, as somebody who, and again, I guess I don't even really know what your politics are. I would say maybe you're more center, maybe you're more like slightly left. I mean, not like it even matters, but just using you as an example, like, does that kind of an article dissuade you from working with anybody that was named? Again, it's like nothing. If you're familiar with the Seth Simons guy, it's like you already know the people he doesn't like and the people he criticizes. But keeping that in mind, and then seeing this article come out again, does that give you pause with not wanting to work with or do shows with or be seen in the same room?
I mean, let's put it this way. I'm on your podcast, right? You know, I just did when I did I was at Soul Joe's Comedy Club in Pennsylvania, and he had a festival that was going on, right? And I think it was the summer festival, and I opened for Legion of Skanks, you know, and it was just like, what they were gonna get there, and I'm gonna be like, oh, you guys, no, are you kidding me? They had I mean, that was it was, the show got wild, sure, but like I'm happy to see Jay. I'm happy to see Lewis. You know, I like Zach. You know what I mean? We're at the end of the day, we're all comedians, and I think that they're fans of yours. That the ones that I'll like are the ones that like me.
Yes. Yeah.
The ones that don't like me, I'm gonna be like, whatever, it's fine, your loss. And you know, and I'm sure they're fans of yours that I'm just not gonna care for as well. Like anybody has, right? It's just like people that consume the work that you do. Some of them you're going to be like really excited, like, oh, cool, this is great. And then some of them are going to be mad weird. But that's just kind of the risk you run for having to deal with it.
Right. It's like, it's our jobs as entertainers and comics. It's like we put our stuff out there. Whoever likes it, great. Like we want to find you as much as, you know, they want to find us, because there's people who, especially now, like need to laugh, need to turn something on to listen to while they're driving or whatever. So it's like, I don't think it's our place to pick who our fans are. It's just like, oh, great.
I don't know. I kind of like when I did Laughs on Fox, there was a guy who found me from Canada, and every time, or he was like somewhere maybe in the Midwest, but like north, like one of the Dakotas. I don't know where, you know, there was like 15 places where that stuff was playing. So, and this guy, every time I was on TV, he would tweet at me and racially slur me. And then at one point I was just like, I'd ignore most of it. And then at one point I was like, dude, what is your fucking problem? And he was just like, no, I'm really a big fan. And I go, this is not how you show support. This is, and like, I was so befuddled by his nonsense, but you know, it sort of comes with the territory, right? You know, it's just, I mean, there are some people that do play to their fan base to a degree. I don't know. Everyone does it differently. I can't judge that. You know, I mean, everyone's got to find a way to survive in this world. And I think more now than ever, I'm not going to fucking give people guff over it. I'm too tired. I'm trying to maintain my own shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to just live. Can I live?
Can I live?
You know? So, but yeah, it's always good to get a little press, right? Good or bad. It's not a bad situation overall. No?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I just think that, like, I don't know where the desire comes from. Like let's say if there's a comics that I don't agree with their politics, or they're just shitty people. They've been rude to me. They've been like, I would never stop their ability to get work. I would never try to get them banned or something. Like I'd be like, oh, okay. Like good luck to you. Like, I hope you find the people that love you and your message. And I hope for them, just like I do for everybody, like, each of our jobs as comics, as creators is to like reach our own potential. And like, we're all, going down a different path. Like, we're all part of the same team, honestly. Because if you're truly a comedian, it's because you want to like make people laugh and maybe have them forget about their own problems, maybe not take themselves so seriously. And like, so whatever way and whatever language you want to use to accomplish that goal, like, great. But we're all on the same team. So it's like, that's why it blows my mind that there are some comics that like are kind of against free speech. It's like, okay, just because it's not hitting you and your side or your team right now doesn't mean that you're safe. It's like, but that's how I think most people are. It's like they're not gonna, unless it really affects them or their bank account, like they're probably not gonna be motivated to like speak out on it.
Yeah, to take work away from another comic is, I mean, yeah, that's pretty shitty. Let's not like. It's not going to get me the spot, It's not like I say something poorly about you and then they take you off the show and put me on. That's just never how it works.
If it was, man, wouldn't that be great? Yeah.
But then this would be a shit talking bonanza. It would be fantastic to talk smack. I'd be shitting on him. I'd do this podcast, get off this podcast, shit talk you off a show, get on this show. I'd be pulling people left and right. I'd be so much further. No, but it's it doesn't serve a purpose. And I think at the end of the day, we all need to kind of move past that kind of shit, get our work out there as much as we humanly can. I put an album out last year.
Yes, I was just about to ask you about that. Yes, this came out in June.
Right, which is, and this is the thing. There was at that point, George Floyd had been killed. The protests were happening. The day my album came out, Chappelle's, he put out that thing on YouTube.
The little special,
the mini. Listen, don't get me wrong. A lot of
upstaged you.
That's the thing. I want this to be clear. I never felt like, oh, this guy's taking my shot. That's insane behavior. What he said needed to be said. Totally understandable. But what was happening at the time was a lot of stuff more important than listening to a guy you don't know tell jokes in the back of a bar. I'm wholly aware of that.
But your jokes are important. And I'm
not saying that I'm still funny, but there's a time and a place, right? It's kind of like I wouldn't break out during a set, in the middle of someone's eulogy, right? You know what I mean? Like I would not say it's less important, because when my mom was like dying of cancer, I was not 24/7 grieving, 24/7 thinking about how horrible it was. It's like, you need breaks, you need humor, you need like somebody going through a hard time, maybe because of what's going on, needs to hear your album because it makes them feel better and it's a break from the stress. Listen, I totally think I agree with that, but it doesn't mean I'm going to shove it to the forefront of people wanting to hear it, right? So like, if they want my album, it's there. If they need that break, it's available. It doesn't mean I'm going to be like, who cares what's happening in the temperature of the United States? Who cares about these protests? You got to hear these jokes. No, I mean, the album's been out. I'm happy with the work. Like, we recorded it at the Grizzly Pear, which is
that's a great spot. Yeah.
Right. It's it's like a new club in a way. And they've never had anyone record a special there, an album.
Wow.
And I was the first to do it. And I was like so thrilled about it.
That's cool.
And you know what I like about the album is that the laughs on it are genuine. Like, we didn't tell anybody. I have no family. I've got no friends there. I've got nobody. That night when we recorded the album, people that were coming by the Grizzly Pear, because it's in the West Village, nestled a bunch of other clubs, and people were passing by. They're like, "Oh, what are you up to tonight?" And I go, "I'm doing my album." They're like, "You're doing your album tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "I didn't know." And I was like, "Nobody does."
You had because most comics, they'll post a ton about it. They'll have a graphic. They'll be like, "This is the album recording." There'll be the album recording post party. It'll be like a whole thing.
And don't get me wrong. When I first wanted to do the album, the goal was to record it in Boston. And there was a mix up with the dates and the club. And so it didn't work out. And I was pushing that date really hard to get people to go to it. And then when it didn't work out, I was, and it really sucked. But then I was just like, and then I was able to speak to Gabe and Kenny who run, they're both comics, both funny guys, and they run the pair. And I was like, can I record it here? And they're like, we would love for you to record it. And I was like, let's go, let's do this. And so then it was like, do I promote this or do I let the pair, which always has good crowds on a Saturday night, do I let my material be the way that it is? And let the people decide. Let a person who's not known at all.
Totally random group. It's like you're not packing it full of your friends and family, which is what a lot of comics do.
Right. And listen, no problem with that.
Yeah.
Listen, you got it. That's great.
You want support. It's good. You want, and the people want to support you. Yeah.
Right. But as somebody who has, I feel like you know how when you are a comic in New York City and you're from New York, so you burn all your friend cards.
Oh yeah, they're gone.
They're all gone, right? My deck is like, I burned the ashes. Like there's nothing. I
burned them all in like the first 2 years. Yeah.
Right. So for me to be like, hey, come watch this recording. The real thing was just like, you can't, they've all heard these jokes. They're going to be like, great. I've seen this all. I've heard this all. And I was like, cool. I wanted as unbiased of a review as I possibly could get. And then
it takes balls, honestly, though.
Thank you.
So
that's what the album is. I called it Draw 4 because that's my current draw in terms of getting people out.
Draw 4. That's funny.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be in Boston. When was that original date? And then what was the date you ended up with recording at Grizzly Pear?
I think Boston was maybe January or maybe December. I don't remember. I don't remember exactly. And then we actually ended up recording the album February 9th last year.
So you snuck in right at the end.
At the end, yeah. And I was really excited about that. Yeah. I mean, listen, once the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, this is fine. It's going to be a challenge to promote this album. It's going to be a struggle. And then everything else that was going on with George Floyd. And I was like, okay, well, this is just going to be very difficult to get. And I was like, all right, but and then I woke up that day and then I saw that the video that Chappelle put up and I was like, listen, all this needs to be said. I'm just going to have to take a back seat and, push the album wherever I can. So now when I get a chance, when somebody's having me on their podcast, I go, listen, I'm going to do, let me push the album now, right? This seems like we're all still home. We're all still bored out of our fucking minds.
Yes. And it's like, it's not like this material, like probably all the jokes in your album is all stuff you would say on stage tonight. It's not like any of these ideas have expired and it's still you. So it's like, I'm sure like none of the jokes are really like have timed out or are, not relevant.
In terms of since we were talking about like comedy that people may not agree with, I actually have a section on there called the Blue 4, which is just the most offensive jokes I've ever read.
Yeah. What don't you have to say what they are?
No, of course. I mean, I got jokes about drug use, just aggressive blowjob jokes, pro swallowing, shooting kids. Like there's a whole gambit of like nonsense.
Good. And that's what we need to hear. Yeah.
The thing is this, like I wanted to put it on an album because I felt like, all right, let me at least put it somewhere. It exists. And I kind of feel like it exists outside of the album, but still on it. And because it's not in the full set, like it's separate. But to be honest, that's been getting a lot of streams. Like that, a lot of people, like I looked at the chart of what's been playing the most. And, offensive, there is a lot of, if you go to Sirius XM, all that stuff, they have those offensive comedy stations, but there's so many comedians on it, tons. And the clean comedy, there's like one station, but there's a small pool. So those
interesting.
Yeah, those comedians get a lot of replays, right?
Probably because it's like you have one dead baby joke and now you're a dirty comic,
No,
it's
like they break it up by bit, right? So
okay.
It's like a clean, like a Brian Regan type, right? They're gonna have, they keep playing his stuff over and over again. Makes sense, right? But they're not gonna. But so those people will get a little more money, whereas like a dirtier comic won't necessarily, and because there's so much to choose from. So I ended up. The offensive stuff is for some odd reason is getting a lot more plays. And it's kind of making me wonder, is the next album just going to be as ungodly offensive as possible? Who knows?
I think it should be. Yeah, why not? I think whatever feels good and whatever is gives you joy to tell on stage, that's what you have to lean into. Like whatever, and that's the answer to everything. Whatever makes you feel the most alive, whatever brings you to the present moment strongest is like, that's where you should live. And did you feel like when you were, because like I want to know about your process of making this album, because it's like it's a real challenge, because I remember I tried to make an album like 2 years ago. I think it was like right around, and I'm not going to like blame my mom getting cancer on the reason why I didn't follow through. It just kind of fell apart.
I'm not going to stop you if you
yeah, I'm like, I could have worked harder. It was a little bit of a mess. Things fell apart. I had this grand idea. I was going to do like 3 separate venues, and then it just didn't work out. And I feel like this, it feels like a failure. It's like, wow, I had a failed album attempt. So now I still have all this like old material. Like, did you feel like in doing this album, you had to basically scrape everything out in terms of material? Like, okay, let's do every joke I've ever written to just get it out? Or like, what was your process like?
My thing was in terms of, I think that I had like maybe an hour of material, and then I think we cut it down to 50 minutes. I just wanted to put out the stuff that I felt like I had told to the best of its ability, and then be done with it, and then start to work on the next album or whatever. And I just wanted to do that. I don't think that it's I don't think it's a failure. Also, I kind of, you know what I mean? Like for you to not record before you didn't record the album, you didn't have an album. Right. Now you don't have an album.
Still don't. Yeah. It's like I didn't lose anything. Right.
Yeah,
it just feels.
Yeah. There's no change really. You're still the same. You know what I mean? The material, it doesn't mean the material's expired. When the time comes, you record an album. I mean, there are people who've done it during the pandemic.
That's cool. I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And because you don't need to have a big audience. To be honest, it kind of feels like a good way to get one out without having to draw in a lot of people.
Like, oh no, 50% capacity. Ugh, it's cool.
How am I going to do that?
How am I ever going to bring in less people? Yeah.
It's stuff like that. So I think that you could do it whenever, but it's not a failure. I think that just getting the material, I'd say put the best stuff forward, and then whatever's not ready, there's no rush. Right? There's no rush for you to do it. I think that I remember it was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I wanted to do an album, and there was 2 people who I spoke to about it who were really encouraging. And I was talking to Nore Davis, and he was like, "Yeah, man,
he's great.
Yeah, he's great." And he's like, "Just do the album. Yeah, just, you know what I mean? Just get it done." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." And he was just like, "That's all it is." And this guy, I think he was like, he just recorded his second one or third. Wow. I don't know, as a machine. And
he is, yeah.
And then it was like one weekend, I was at Uncle Vinny's in Jersey, right? And I was with my Canon.
I love that place. It's just like, if you guys have never been there, it's like, it's very Jersey. It doesn't have like a mob, but it has a mob feeling to the extent that the marketing is like, the sign has bullet holes in it. Right. Dino, the owner, he's like very Italian. It's like, it feels like cozy. It's like, it's a good room, and you get like, that's like real America. I mean, actually,
I feel like you're in a cannoli when you're in there. Yeah. It's like cozy, and you kind of, and like they're there for the comedy, and you could do it if you can go at them. They're wild. You can get wild. But I was doing a show with Cannon. I was opening for Cannon, and he just put his album out, and he was just like, "Dude, you just got to set a date and just do it." And I think that, and that's it. And he did that. And I listened to his album. I thought that was great. And I was like, okay, cool. And because of those 2 guys, I was just like, let me just get it down. Let me get it done. And I kept coming up with excuses and kept cycling in my head about it and being like, I don't know, this or that or whatever. And then, it just really comes down to that. I was like, I thought about what they said, and I was like, no, man, let me just put it down, and let me get it recorded, and that's it. So
did you along the way feel like, oh, I'm not ready yet? Or like the material, if I wait, the material could get better? Like I was struggling with that too.
It's never going to not, it can always get better, but then it can always get worse too. Right. You know what I mean? You can over season something.
Yeah.
So, but you can under season it too. So it's like, But then, you know, who gives a shit, right? You put out this album, and if you don't like the end product, it's still your call.
Yeah, you don't have to put it out. Yeah.
Right. And that's it. And if you, let's say you record 3 other albums after that, and then you look back at the first one and you go, I can't believe I put this shit out. Who gives a fuck? Just take it off the internet.
Just send it to your mom and be done with it.
You're done. That's it. It's over. So that's fine too. Like, there are comics whose I can't find their first album on iTunes or Spotify. And I'm sure I could find it if I really, really looked hard. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah, so, I've never thought of that. Like that you could, but of course, if you look back and you're like, okay, this one isn't as strong, you take it off.
If you're a fan of something, you're going to consume the stuff that they have out. I don't think that you're going to spend your hours trying to painstakingly find something they don't want out there, unless you dislike the person. But,
yeah. I remember I used to really love, this band has broken up already, but like I loved this band called Pearl and the Beard. And my favorite thing to do was just like watch their YouTube, like random music video they shot on a subway or shot in a field. I just loved everything they did, even like the weird, kooky, like underproduced stuff.
Right.
So it's like, and now they're maybe I'll get them on the podcast. Maybe that'll be my way to get them back together. But
there was a group that I saw in the backyard in Stony Brook. It was like in Long Island. I was at a backyard barbecue, and it was a group. I think they were called We the Living.
Ooh.
Right. And like they were damn good. And I remember I bought the album after the thing, and they're like, I was like, how much is the album? They're like $10. And I was like, $10? They're like, it's a full album. And I was like, that's fair. I wasn't doing comedy at this point, so I was like being a real dickhead about it. And like in retrospect, they were
undercharging. Yeah,
they were undercharging. They totally were. But I would have paid $20. And I listened to that album, and I think they broke up. But like,
that's how it was with these guys. I discovered them at a Planned Parenthood like fundraiser or something.
I thought you were like at a Planned Parenthood. I was like,
oh no, it was like a Planned Parenthood fundraiser or something, and it was like in Williamsburg, of course. And I remember I just stayed, and I listened to them, and I just fell in love right away. Like went down to their merch table, and I think I bought like 2 or 3 of their albums all at once. I was like, I'm just so sold on everything you guys do. I was like an Insta fan, so. But it also like really reminds me of a certain like time in my life, like just moving out of my parents' house and like whatever, living in Williamsburg, spending all my money. That's
how's
cool.
it been with the how's it going COVID wise, relationship wise? I always kind of wonder about that.
Yes. I mean, like for sure. You know, I wonder, it's like a chicken or the egg thing. It's like I want to be having more sex, but it's like, am I not having more sex because I am not prioritizing? I'm prioritizing like my career more so than like working out. When you're working out, you're feeling good. You're feeling sexy. It's like you're putting out sexier vibes. It's like maybe you're more open to sex being had. And so it's like, and is it because like I'm not focusing on that as much? Like am I closed off? Or is it just because like, you know, I'm so big on like, okay, maybe to a fault, I take too much responsibility. Like I think I take too much of the blame for something like happening or not happening. That's probably my only like, okay, wish we could have been having more sex this whole time. But our fucking bed is broken. Like it's been broken for a while. Like the screws started falling apart. And I think like it just seems like we're one like good bang sesh away from just having a mattress on the floor. So I think, but that's good. I think that maybe the lesson there for me is like, because I used to be a gigantic slut where I was just, you know, before meeting Frank would just like schedule people in. Like I was a New York City doctor, like literally like you have a half hour. No, I was just like, and I would use sex.
Do people that long? Do people need to do it that long? Who are we kidding here? Half an hour.
Time for a wipe down. No, I was just like, I would use sex to avoid like intimacy and working on myself and working on my career. So now it's kind of like the opposite. I'm like forced to like work on myself really. But yeah, like, and also it's like, we're kind of like moving and so there's like a lot going on, whatever. I think overall I'm prioritizing like my career more so than like sex. So
it's going well.
Long-winded answer.
Yeah, going well, it seems. That's a good problem, you know?
Yeah. What about you?
Things are good. You know, it's just, I I think giving each other space is very important. You know, not being on top of each other is kind of like, I grew up in apartment buildings. So to me, we never had, my family, we were 4 people in a converted 1-bedroom. So, nobody told me to stand in the corner because it's like there was someone there. Like that's just the way it was. We were out there on top of each other. So a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 people to me feels like a mansion. So I feel fine. I know that she definitely would want more space, and I get it. But I think that's the key to making this work during the pandemic is just like leave each other alone. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was crazy because like I've been with Frank for like 6 years, but until this pandemic, it's like we never had so much like face-to-face time. Like there were a couple months where we were home every day, like looking at each other, and we just like played a lot of Pokemon Go, went on a lot of walks.
Right.
Just kind of in this routine of like.
It feels like the relationship went to like 1.5 speed, you know?
Yeah.
Like every relationship, like you're at 6 years, but it feels like you're now at like 12.
Oh, for sure. And it didn't even feel like 6 years even before the pandemic because I spent so many nights, like I don't even know how many, but if you think about like comedy and how many gigs, how many nights I've spent away from him, and like a normal couple would be like getting together for dinner, multiple times a week. But but it's like if you have a week where you have spots like every night, it's like, oh, I'll see you
Monday, maybe.
Yeah.
That's what I liked before about that is that like we would schedule like because that night we're out, so I'd schedule one day like Monday date night. I got no spots. Let's do something. Let's hang out. And now it's like I'll see you in the kitchen.
Yeah. I know. My biggest thing is like, oh man, it's been like a lot of sweatpants and seeing me with no makeup, which he's already seen me in, but it's like, all right, I could be, but what am I going to wear high heels around my own house?
Stuff up the floors.
Yeah. Like I'm just going to clean in heels. Yeah. Maybe I could do that one day.
I guess. I mean, I'm out on like, I don't know how much appeal one could possibly have. In the morning, I'm stretching my back out. You know what I mean? How sexy is that going to, I got the yoga mat out. I'm stretching hip flexors.
You're presenting. That's presenting.
Right? I'm peacocking right here. I smell awful. And I'm just like, are you interested? No, there's nothing. You got to pick that battle, right? I feel like you got to really just kind of know when right out the shower or something. When the shower times align properly, then it works. Other than that, it's just like
a lot of time you have to look at the other person and be like, hey, I'm about to shower. Come get it while it's clean.
Yeah, well, it's fresh out the shower.
That's could be the name of my next album. Well, my first album, Fresh Out the Shower.
Fresh Out the Shower. Great.
I was going to go through like all of your credits and stuff and talk about your comedy journey. I mean, we definitely did talk about your comedy journey and stuff. What do you feel like of all your like credits, what has done the most for your career? You've been on CISO, you've been on True TV's Late Night Snack, NBC Stand Up for Diversity, Caroline's March Madness. I guess, what do you feel like gave you the most sort of like social among comedians clout versus what did more for your career?
No, I mean, I don't think I think the most that's done for my clout is me just being honest and more upfront with people, less bullshitting. I think that's better. That's done the best for me, being on the level as much as I humanly can and owning up when I fuck up, which I think is good. But in terms of like, when I first did, I did these commercial series, Optimum, The Unmovers.
Yes, The Unmovers with Mark DeMayo and who else was on
Leonard Oots and Joe Vesey.
Yeah.
And, the thing is, like, if it wasn't for DeMayo, I wouldn't have gotten that gig. Like, I started opening for him, and this is what I like about DeMayo and all the people that I do get to open for that regularly. Like Teddy Smith, I've opened for him a lot before. But mostly now it's Mark DeMayo. And they all say the same thing. The good ones will be like, listen, what I like is you go out there and you try as hard as you can. And then that means I have to try as hard as I can. And the really good comics will say that. And they'll outright do it. And I think that comics that have really weak openers is because of that. Because
then they aren't challenged to like rise to their best.
Yeah. Because it does suck when, of course it would suck if you're within earshot and they tell the feature that, oh, you were better than the headliner. And if you're the headliner,
yes, you don't want to be buried. Yeah.
It's got to kill you. Right. But I've done like little mini tours, with my handful of credits. And it's mostly just people looking at my clips going, all right, I think we could let him rock the stage. And I'm always thankful for that. But I've gone on the road with this comic, Dennis Rooney. And Dennis I could easily bring somebody less funny. I could easily do that. And Dennis is a problem to follow. He's and I tried to get into his groove. Like I would, when I drank, I'd have a couple drinks, like he's having a couple drinks, and he would get on stage and he would just body the room. And then I'd get on stage and I'd be like, I'm a little buzzed now. I'm flopping over the words. And
are you in your head?
Yeah. A few nights of those. And I was like, I gotta do me. I got to do me as best as I can. And then I started to kind of get in the groove where I go, because this guy is going to still do him, which is really, really hard. And so, you got to, I think that's important to have somebody who pushes you that way. And because of DeMayo, I got the commercials and all that stuff. And he's always been the kind of guy that says, go as hard as you can. And, if I get him, I get him. If I don't, I don't. Isn't that such a vet thing to say? Where he's just like, you're going to go as hard as you can, and I'm going to try to, and if I get him, I get him. And if I don't, well, I guess I don't. But he's such a killer, so it's fine.
These relationships that we build and maintain over the years are so important with other comics, because it's just like you have some of the best, and like these are the people, right, giving you opportunities and gigs. Like I remember I did a like a fundraiser for, not a fundraiser, it was a holiday party, I think for cops. Mm-hmm. And I was like, of course I'm booking DeMayo. Like, of course. Yeah. Like they were just like, okay, here's whatever budget, like go book people. And I was like, of course DeMayo, because he was a cop. And I love these random shows that are like unglamorous, like in the back of an Elks Lodge or like in a basement, and for just like regular people. Right. Those I have the most fun doing. And I just remember like he made it so much fun. And like I think there were a couple people that like maybe didn't do as well, and then they were saying to me, there were guys that were saying like, cut the show, just cut it right now, like because somebody's wife got drunk and was complaining and just was like, last year we had a magician, why is there no magician this year? And they were like, they were literally telling me as a host like, okay, end the show. And I was looking at DeMayo, I'm like, no, he's the fucking funniest guy, like he's the guy that I know is going to get everybody back. So he's looking at me, he's saying, end it now. And I'm like, okay. I go back up on stage and I bring up DeMayo. And I just was like, I just fucking made that call. I was like, yeah, no, it's like, I know that this is the right thing to do. And I was like, and I was dying inside because I fucking hate conflict. And I just was like, especially like, I don't know, male authority figures kind of make me afraid. So,
listen, I get it. We live in a society.
Like,
you know what I mean? So.
But then he came up and he fucking murdered. And I was like, that's right. And it's kind of like I made them forget that they told me to call the show. Because if we had just left on that note.
Did any of those assholes come up to you after and be like, that was a good call? Did they own up to it?
No, God, no. No way. Because I'm just the girl. Yeah. Yeah, they were scary assholes. But I was like,
some of the best shows are those Elks. I did I forgot the name of this club. There's like a bunch of them in the Northeast area. And they had one at Penn State. They had one of the rooms there. But they also had another show that's in an Elks Lodge further out west. And this is like, it was me and Teddy Smith. Teddy Smith, black comic, funny dude. And I'm Indian. And it's just like, this Elks Lodge we're talking, wood panel around
yes.
Like there was a guy, Chrissie, there was a guy draped in American flag. Like not like one American flag. No, I meant like American flag jacket, American flag pants, American flag hat. Like this guy it's just like Uncle Sam, came in a more rural version.
Yeah. Uncle Sam just threw up all over him. Yeah.
Right. And it's just like, and we walk into here and it's remote as shit. And I knew there were people inside because there was a parking lot, but we walk in and it is line to line with people. And I get on stage and when you can make those people laugh that you don't probably have nothing in common with, and you find the commonality, nothing is better than that shit. At one point during my set, and this is how I knew how rural and how different these people, there's a skull can rolling across the aisle, and somebody picked it up and they were in the back, and they weren't disrupting the show. They were like, whose mint skull is this? And I remember just commenting on that, and I go, this is how I know we're different, because somebody right now picked it up and went, and somebody's like, that's my mint skull. And they passed it back to him. And I'm telling you guys jokes, and you guys are eating this shit up, and I'm having a good time. And that shit was incredible. It was a fucking blast. So I love those types of rooms.
There's nothing more, God, that feels better than making a room full of people laugh that maybe you think is going to be a tough crowd. Like for me, an intimidating room is like probably an all black crowd, because I'm like, they're already looking at me. They're making judgments. They think I'm like this like privileged white chick or whatever. They think that I've had no difficulty in my life. And it's like, and it's also sometimes gets hard because sometimes like if you, a lot of my older material was like talking about like whatever, being slutty or like getting a wax or whatever. And then like, you don't want to, sometimes like you do learn, you perform enough, you can make sort of stereotypes about the crowd. You're like, okay, odds are this group doesn't like hearing about being overly sexual, this group doesn't, it's like you learn,
of course,
but you don't want to like cut out huge chunks of your personality or your set. So you're like, the game is always charm them, make this crowd like fall in love with you, and then you can sell them on like laughing at stuff maybe they wouldn't have normally laughed at.
Yeah, and they I think they value that more at the end of the day. I think that they look at that and they go, this is, amazing. Like, because if you don't compromise yourself, then I think that makes all the difference for being a better comedian. So, yeah, I mean, of course, there's that crowd in rural Pennsylvania is some, I don't, what I mean? We don't have, I grew up in apartment buildings in Queens. Like, how are we going to possibly relate? But funny's funny. So it kind of goes across the board.
Funny is funny, man. Yes. Kunal, where can people find you, follow you, support you, etc.?
Everything is, first of all, thank you for having me. Really means
a delight.
Thank you.
Please spread the word to all the haters. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
What was I going to say? It was everything that I do. It's all under the same thing. It's all day KCA. The website, the Instagram, the Twitter. All that shit. It's all there. You can get the album. It's called Draw 4. I think you guys are going to like it.
Draw 4. DRAW, Draw 4.
Yeah.
I love it. That's such an interesting like name.
Big Uno fan is really what it comes down to.
Kunal, this was great. I can't wait to see you in person one day soon.
Absolutely.
And yeah, this was great. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Give my best to Frank as well.
Oh, I will.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.